You can get in touch with us live on 4001. We'd love to get your thoughts on last night's KHA announcement, of course. And have you heard anything concrete from your school? And please do reach out. We've got two expert educators joining us this hour.
This is Eye on Education on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Sponsored by Repton School Al Barsha. Exemplary British education for ages 3 to 18, where ambition is nurtured and potential is unlocked.
If you are a parent here in the UAE, I want to know how you feel about that announcement. Last evening, education authorities announced the phased resumption of in-person learning for all children, students and staff in public and private nurseries, kindergartens and schools starting April 20th. But just because you can doesn't mean everyone necessarily will. Of course, this decision very carefully considered. Schools putting procedures in place, training staff to ensure children's safety. And the Ministry of Education has said private schools do have the flexible option to implement hybrid rotational model when needed. KHJ is saying that schools are to resume on-site learning based on readiness and full compliance with health and safety measures issued by the relevant authorities. And this just in, no school buses will be operating next week, according to the ministry, and it's giving school bus operators enough time to put protocols in place to meet safety standards as well, subject to weekly review. So the headline is, we're going back to school, but there is so much more to unpack. So we're doing that now with Hayley Lamb, the Vice Principal of Ranches Primary School. Thank you for joining us today. I can only imagine how much your phone has been buzzing in the last 24 hours, seeking answers, seeking opinions, seeking plans. Can I ask, when you heard that announcement last night, crikey, the suspense, what was your immediate reaction?
Positive. Like, we want the children back. We really do. I always say you don't underestimate the power of like hot bodies in a room. Like we've tried our best with online, and we're really proud of the provision that we've provided at Ranches Primary. But there's nothing like actually having the children in the building. But also one of, well, let's see what's being put in place, because we had our own plans and our own ideas as to what we would need to keep the children safe. But literally, as we speak, our school principal is at the KHDA listening to some guidance as to their expectations before we can open. Mine
was mixed as well. And I'm still kind of reflecting on it, because I had such a mixture of reactions on my Instagram. I had, the celebration dancing emojis, I had broken hearts, I had all sorts. And it's really interesting because I thought I knew what I wanted, which was get those kids back in school ASAP. And then I thought about just how much more complicated it is than that. And I think a lot of people have read that headline and really jumped the gun on what that is going to mean on Monday morning. And guys, I don't mean to burst your bubble. I don't think it's going to be a full resumption of all activities and learning in classroom. It's just not realistic for the majority of situations, because as you say, the KHA are having conversations today. There's going to be staff training. There are going to be teachers that are out of country that need to come back in and have that training to ensure school readiness. And this idea of the phrase school readiness is coming back to me so much right now, because when we've spoken in the past about it, we've been talking about the child being ready for school, and now we're talking about the school being ready for the children, and rightly so. It's a very complex set of protocols that schools are going to need to adhere to. So what are you doing today, Hayley? What kind of conversations are you having with staff? Have you sent anything out to parents yet? What's been the comms?
So today, actually, I've been working on a wellbeing document, some wellbeing guidance for parents. And it started off as a 1-pager and it's ended up as a 5-pager. And our parents will be receiving it over the next 24 hours. Because as you know, wellbeing is at the heart of everything I do. Like, I live and breathe wellbeing. And actually, for us as a school, number one, we have to keep the children safe. And number two, we always say culture before curriculum, well-being over anything else. Like, a happy child, a child who feels safe will learn. Mm-hmm. So it's just going back to basics. And so the guidance that I've been working on personally today is just reminding parents of knowing that the children will learn you. So if you say or do certain things, the children will become you. Things like when we do finally get back to school, not saying I will miss you on the gate, because although in your heart you want to say it, you're basically giving your child like a message that they're not going to be okay, or that you're not going to be okay. So it's rather it's turning it into a positive of, I cannot wait to hear all about your day. I can't wait to hear your favourite parts. The other thing is just thinking about routine. So I know my two children have definitely been going to bed later than normal.
How old are yours, Hayley?
They are in year 6 and year 7. So they're 10 and 12. And they're absolute superstars. I'm so proud of both of them. I really am. And they've really taken everything within their stride. But routine is definitely something we now need to work on. So although we've had a level of routine where they get up in the morning, they brush their teeth, they have their breakfast before their learning starts, they are getting up later and they are going to bed later. And little things like, I need to check that their school shoes fit them.
Oh, don't say that. Ours definitely won't. I don't think the uniform's going to fit either, to be honest.
But this is it. And obviously schools are not going to be fussy over that. Like we've definitely said at Ranches, if your shoes are not fitting, please don't let that stress you out. Like just send them in with anything initially, because we want the children to feel safe and secure, and we don't want to stress the parents out.
Oh, I was just thinking that, maybe we should go to the shoe shop. I'm like, I don't want to jinx it.
You can get a refund. You can get a refund.
But it is all those little things that kind of add up to us feeling ready.
Yeah.
And as you say, the kids picking up on our cues or concerns, positivity around it as well. And I think it is really important to acknowledge that people have had a huge range of emotions and reactions to this. And how do you maintain to be the inclusive school that you are, and taking all of those considerations, into what the next few weeks might look like? What has the mood amongst parents been? What are they asking you the most? What have you had to save in your notes section to do copy paste?
A real mixed bag. So as a school, we've actually sent out to parents who they are best off contacting for various concerns, worries, if they want to chat. So a lot of mine obviously have been wellbeing focused, because parents have known to reach out to me for that. But sometimes it's not necessarily for the child's wellbeing, it's been for the adult's wellbeing, or they're just not sure exactly what to say to their child. So my advice has always been, it doesn't matter how mature you think your child is, they're still a child. And so children cannot process things like an adult. And so, like I say, my children are 10 and 12 and they're very mature, but there are certain things I wouldn't be saying in front of them.
Totally agree.
I
turned off the news for them quite a long time ago. When my in-laws were here, I was like, can we just turn off the TV, please? This is not helpful.
Yeah.
They don't need to know. They need to know what they need to know. And I will be honest and transparent to a point. And we talk about what we can control. We talk about, if you need to talk to us about anything, you want to raise any concerns, then let's talk it through. Are your kids excited to go back?
So that's such an interesting question. So Henry, yes, absolutely buzzing, but he's like a social butterfly. He can't wait to go back, but I think he literally goes to school for the social element.
Yeah, I relate to that.
Whereas Eddie has really come into his own because he's now in year 7 at RGS. He's now learned how to use Teams properly, and he says he can really concentrate on his lessons because there's nobody disturbing him, and he can focus and he can go back through the notes or rewatch the video and that kind of thing. So I actually think Eddie will be the one that might not be sort of having his jump into it sort of thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting because some children have really, really thrived on online. And I think age and it's absolutely crucial in maturity level because, as you said, do things on your own timeline, wear what you want. I mean, certainly eat when you want has been the problem in our household. And to get back into more structure is going to be a bit of an adjustment. I think now, as I said, and I don't mean to be the, angel of doom and gloom, I don't think it's going to be Monday morning, but, if it's Thursday now, what can we be doing over maybe the next week to bring bedtime forward a little bit, to try on the school shoes, to, whatever it might be. What can we do now to mentally and practically prepare? Speaking of practical preparation, as I said earlier, I think that safety training, drills, whatever it might be on campus with staff is absolutely crucial. Safety is front of mind. What measures are schools expected to have in place, or what have you had to be doing over the last few weeks or proving in order your own school readiness?
So if I speak on behalf of Ranches, we are part of the Cognita group. So we work really closely with the other principals, and we have obviously our head office. We have Pauline, who's our head of health and safety, who's been fab.
Shout out Pauline.
Yeah, shout out to Pauline. But so we obviously had our own safety processes in place as to what we thought would, work for us. Mm-hmm. But now, obviously, today there's new things being released as well. And so it's definitely doable. We can definitely achieve it, but we are going to have to go back to the drawing board with a couple of things, which is why it's a positive in my eyes that the children aren't back in on Monday, because it just gives us that little bit longer.
I agree. In terms of it being a dynamic situation, in terms of schools responding, and it's going to be very individual to the school, of the size of school, the location. There's so many variables there.
Yeah, like every school building is different, and their design is different, and what their building is made out of is different, and all of these things need to be considered.
Sorry, guys. I don't mean to be there, I'm sorry. I don't think it's going to be Monday. And I'm okay with it, to be completely honest. I think these safety protocols are in place for a reason. We want our schools to feel safe. We want parents to be reassured. So I'm keen to get your thoughts on this. And of course, any questions for Hayley Lamb. We've had a message here asking, how do I talk to my children? There's a chance they might be going back on Monday, or do I wait until the school has given us something concrete? Any advice? Great question there. They're year 1 and year 3. And we are going to be hearing from RGS after past today in conversation with Matthew Pearce, the principal.
Dubai Eye 103.8 traffic.
Zina Zalmaya in the studio. It's been very nice and quiet on the roads. That might be very different in a week's time, Zina. What's happening at 3:15?
Well, yeah, enjoy your drive now. It is looking smooth, except for 2 areas. Helen, on the E44, you're heading towards Abu Dhabi, just by Dubai Design District, back-to-back accident. So causing a few problems there. And if you're heading into Sharjah on the E311, don't take the E311 because there is an accident in the Muhaisna area just after Mirdif City Centre. So if you have anything to add to that, text us 4001. And for now, that's your traffic.
Thank you, Zina.
This is Dubai Eye 103.8.
And a quick look ahead to tomorrow. Right after the business breakfast, you've got a brand new starting up. This is Tom Urquhart and the Virtue Zone team sitting down with business leaders. Maybe it's homegrown businesses, maybe they operate globally, but of course business resilience is an absolutely crucial part of that conversation right now. So if you have your own business, maybe you're looking to start up, scale back, have different conversations, or indeed look to the future, I would say essential listening right here on Dubai Eye 103.8 tomorrow morning, starting with the Virtue Zone at 10 a.m.
More coming up next on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Your home of news.
Helen with you through until 4 o'clock. We're, of course, talking about what you're talking about. That announcement last night. If you want to share your thoughts, questions, of course, to the experts, you can reach us and be anonymous if you prefer on 4001.
This is Eye on Education on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Sponsored by Repton School Al Barsha. Exemplary British education for ages 3 to 18, where ambition is nurtured and potential is unlocked.
We did, of course, have that announcement last night from the KHDA. Schools could be facing a phased return to in-person learning from Monday. But of course, this is a big decision, needs to be carefully considered, and every school is different. We've had weeks of distance learning, and with children heading back into the classroom, how do schools make that transition smooth? And of course, what can we as parents do to support? Hayley Lamb is with us today, Vice Principal of Ranches Primary School, to unpack what happens next. And a really great question for you, Hayley, on 4001. Saying, my kids are in year 1 and year 3. Do I tell them there's a chance they'll be going back on Monday, or do I wait and see what the school says? We're expecting an email tomorrow. So am I. What would you do, especially with that age group in particular?
So I would definitely speak to them and say that you will be going back soon. I'd be very non-committal with regards to the day. Because some children will really hang on that day and think, oh gosh, it's...
They do take things literally.
Yeah, they do. So my youngest, Henry, I have to be really careful what I say, because it might as well be etched on my gravestone what I've said, sort of thing.
Our youngest is exactly the same, very black and white. If I say something, even a suggestion of something, and it doesn't happen, she'll be like, you're a liar. I'm like, I wasn't lying. At that time, there was a possibility of X, and I know it's Y. So, and they've got great memories, these kids, when it suits them. You said... Last Monday, you said, oh, crikey. So I would, keep things...
Yeah, I would keep, but definitely have a conversation. And so in the guidance that we will be sending out to our parents that I've worked on today, one of the things that I've said to parents is to be able to support the teacher. We would just like you as parents to actually have a conversation with your child before they return in age-related language about what you do if there's an alert. Now, so some people have been here the whole time, and so the children know what to do. They've had lots of practice at it, whereas some people left and so haven't been around the alerts.
And we haven't had one for
we
quite some
haven't,
time now.
And that's the thing. So that's really important. But again, doing it in child-related language, child-speak language. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, I would say to prepare your children if your children are still thinking it's fireworks and this has just been an extended Eid celebration, again, in child speak, it's letting the children know some level of truth, because the second they get back to school, children will talk and children will share.
Thank you for flagging that, because I've had a number of people message me about concerns, especially around secondary, where children might have their own phones, and parents saying this has been our narrative and this is what we felt comfortable sharing. And we know that children love a gossip and a share and some drama, and especially if they have got access to the internet. We don't want our kids, as you say, going in not being told lies, but maybe being protected from the truth, because those conversations are going to be very real. And I think a lot of our kids, as we alluded to earlier, about picking up on our cues, but also picking up on the news, they probably know a lot more than we might realise. And school will inevitably become a hotbed of chat, or did you hear, or this is what's happening, and, dates and numbers and projections. So, as you say, keep it age appropriate, but we don't want that to be something else to navigate. Why did you tell me this when it was that?
Exactly. I think as well, just you don't want them to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the teachers will be able to sort of redirect conversations if they're like whole class conversations. Of course they will.
Gosh,
they're
poor
not
teachers.
going to sort of rip the Band-Aid off and say, right, everybody tell me what you know. That's not going to happen. That wouldn't, they just wouldn't do that. But what they can't stop is these little conversations when they're not there, or when they're happening in the playground or next to their buddy. It's going to be very tricky. And so initially we said, only tell your children what you're comfortable telling them, but that's when we were all working via distance. Mm-hmm. Now that everybody's coming back together, my suggestion would be to share some element of what you're comfortable with your child, because if not, they will come home on that first day telling you what they know, and it might be, a distorted truth.
Exactly, the news via an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a really important one to flag, Hayley. What about the academics? I'm not going to lie. Some tasks might have fallen through the cracks on Seesaw with us over the last few weeks. I think there's certainly been a loss of focus and concentration and interest. It was amazing the job the teachers have been doing to deliver the best possible lessons. Being sat in the same chair on the same screen has not been optimum. Have you got parents who are worried about there being gaps in knowledge? Is it a case, you're obviously primary, about picking up where you left off, taking a step back? How are you assessing that?
So the teachers, obviously, we say this, the teachers are going back to what their bread and butter is, and so are the children. So the children are used to learning in a classroom. The teachers are used to teaching the children. Yes, the first week or so when we're settling back in, there's going to be a big focus on sort of relationships, getting to know each other again, well-being, obviously the safety element. But after that, once everybody is settled, the teachers will then be starting to assess the gaps in learning, because some children have not been able to access learning because they've maybe been in a different part of the world where they've not been able to have internet connection. Some children haven't accessed learning just because maybe they've not had an adult at home who can support them with it. And other children maybe have access to learning, but maybe the parents been sat next to them sort of telling them the answers. and again, we've all been there and done that. And so the teachers know that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the teachers know their classes well.
I think, as you said, right now, the priority is well-being. That, to my mind, that is the number one. I want them to be back with their friendships, rebuilding those, maybe starting new friendships, if dynamics have changed in the classroom, and having teachers that are really just that welcoming place again, because, as you said, the teachers want those little faces back. Speaking of which, this idea of hybrid rotational models gives me the mega COVID flashbacks of, these poor teachers effectively having to do 2, if not 3 jobs of preparing lessons for teaching in class, how that might translate to, teams or seesaw tasks, and then potentially, if there are still children out of country, that being recorded and used on a different timeline. The mind absolutely boggles. Again, teachers are amazing. However, I've seen some really interesting kind of ideas around what that could look like in order to deliver the optimum lessons to kids in different circumstances. What kind of conversation solutions are you coming up with and about hybrid? Because it is going to be an inevitable part of that transition period.
Yeah, so interesting you say that. Our teaching and learning assistant principals have been focusing on that today as to what that could look like and what that model could look like. So number one, we need to know who's in country. So there's 3 options really. It's you're in country and you want to come into school when it's safe to do so. You're in country, but actually you don't feel safe enough to come back to school yet, and so you want to go for the online version. Or you're out of country and you need to access the online version. And for us as a school, currently our plan is to separate the two. And so if you are in school, then your teacher solely focuses on that in-school provision. And if you are online, then we will have staff members that will focus on that online provision.
Because it's a completely different discipline.
Yeah, it takes a different amount of brain power. It really does. And actually, because wellbeing is at the heart of everything, we need to focus on the wellbeing of the children in the room. And so we don't want the teachers worrying about, is it recording? Did I record? Who's on camera? Can the children see? And actually, the children at home who are online also deserve to have a really high level and to carry on with the quality that we've been giving over the last couple of weeks, which is why we personally as a school will be offering a very bespoke, it's one or the other. It's not joined. It's not it's not at the same time.
A blessing for all, especially the teachers. Have you surveyed people? Because I think a number of schools have put out surveys saying, where are you? What are your intentions? That kind of thing. We haven't had that yet. As I said, we've just had a bit of a holding email saying, I'm sure you saw the announcement last night, we're getting our school readiness and back to school packs ready. Watch this space.
So it's coming. It's definitely coming. I know some schools have already started to send those surveys out a couple of days ago, preempting what news might have been announced. It's definitely coming, because for us to be able to plan ahead, we actually need to know what numbers are we dealing with.
Exactly right, in terms of where can we allocate staff. Do we have enough staff? Some schools are talking about. So I think it is really important.
For us as a school, especially for our younger children, it's really, really important that they have their class teacher. Yeah. And so we're looking at who else in the building, we have some other teachers in the building that could then pick up, or some leaders who could pick up that online provision, because the number one priority is that our little children, our youngest ones, are coming back to see their class teacher that they love so much. Like
a celebrity.
We were at an event yesterday, and one little girl said, I can't wait to give my teacher a hug. And I just thought it was really, really sweet. And that's what she's holding out for. Like that day when they get together will be so magical.
I saw a little boy, we had a school event last night and he was wearing his PE kit and I got weirdly emotional. I was like, Helen, you need more sleep. A message here saying, such a good point about children being able to rewatch the recorded team lessons if they don't understand something. Really valuable. And I think that's what's been really clarifying, is actually getting a deeper understanding of what works and what doesn't work for our kids. And now it's a case of, how do we communicate to the teachers about what we've learned as parents? Where are we worried about, the social side, the emotional side, the academic side? And ultimately kind of coming together at a time where there are going to be changes. It is dynamic, and ultimately being on the same side. Hayley, all the best over the next few days.
Thank you.
Do feel free to turn off your phone if you need to. And as I said, if you want to have your say on 4001, you're more than welcome to get in touch. Up next, we're going to be in conversation with the principal of Royal Grammar School Guild Dubai. Matthew Pearce is going to be live on the line.
The UAE has announced school bus operations for all